Resting Witch Face. The Grave Matters Mysteries. Book 2. By Wynne Valentine. Copyright 2026 by Dana Sacco. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means, including information storage and retrieval systems, without written permission from the author, except for the use of brief quotations in a book review. Chapter 1. Dust and Denim. I jammed a third pencil into my hair. It snapped. Fine, I told the bathroom mirror. Hat. I grabbed the canvas cap from the hook, the one stained with lime mortar and grave dirt, and shoved it over the copper wire explosion Rourke called dramatic, and I called unprofessional. My eyes, green and bloodshot from reviewing invoices until 2 a.m., looked grateful for the shade. It had been 6 weeks since the storm nearly washed the Fallows into the Gulf. 6 weeks since I'd broken into a crypt, fought a librarian, and watched a murderer get pinned by a granite slab. The town was drying out. The boneyard was open for business, and I was officially the girl who solved the murder. It was a title I didn't want. I wanted to be a mason. I wanted to mix mortar, point brick, and argue with dead people about their property lines. But in a small town, once you prove you can see skeletons in the closet, people stop hiring you to fix the closet and start hiring you to clean it out. I splashed cold water on my face. Today wasn't a sleuthing day. Today was a consulting day. Jasper Abernathy, interim director of the Athenaeum and the only person I knew who ironed his socks, had called me at 6 a.m. because his basement was weeping. Weeping meant water. Water meant rot. I dressed in the dark, jeans that were more patch than denim, a flannel shirt with sleeves rolled past the elbow, and boots that smelled like wet limestone. I paused at the dresser. A small black notebook lay next to my keys. The Penhaligon ledger. Encrypted. Dangerous. I tucked it into my back pocket. Force of habit. Downstairs, the air smelled of bergamot and burned toast. Uncle Rourke sat in the sunroom, surrounded by ferns that seemed to grow visibly while we slept. He wore his silk dressing gown and read a newspaper from Tuesday. "You're wearing the boots," he said without looking up. "Digging?" "Consulting," I said, grabbing a piece of blackened toast. "Jasper's basement partitions are sweating. He thinks the foundation is compromised." Rourke stopped. His teacup hovered halfway to his mouth. "The basement," he said. "The archive level?" "Yeah. He's knocking down some old plaster walls to install dehumidifiers. Wants me to make sure he doesn't bring the building down." Rourke set the cup down. It clicked against the saucer. "He's knocking down walls? Which walls?" "North partition, I think. Why?" "The north partition," Rourke repeated. He looked at the ferns. "That's significant, Merritt. The 1905 cribbing relies on those internal divisions." "That's what I told him." "Maybe." Rourke stood up. He walked to the window, leaning heavily on his cane. His knuckles were white. "Maybe tell him to wait. Seal it. Humidity is manageable. Disruption isn't." The hum buzzed in my ear. A low, soft insect whine. "Pay attention." "Rourke," I said, chewing the charcoal toast. "It's plaster and lath. Why does it matter?" He turned. His face was the polite mask of the retired coroner again, but his eyes were tight. "Old buildings have secrets, Merritt. Sometimes opening a wall lets out more than just bad air." "That sounds like a ghost story." "Everything in this town is a ghost story," he said. "Just be careful. Don't let him knock down anything he can't put back up." "I'm a mason, Uncle." Putting things back up is the job." I kissed his cheek, cold like paper, and left. Outside, the heat punched me in the chest. August in the Fallows wasn't a season. It was a punishment. The air was soup. Spanish moss hung limp and gray from the live oaks, dripping condensation onto the gravel. I climbed into my truck. It cranked, coughed, and finally roared to life, sounding like a tractor with a smoking habit. As I drove toward town, Rourke's reaction stuck in my throat. Significant. Rourke didn't care about cribbing. He cared about secrets. If he was worried about a wall in the library basement, there was something behind it he didn't want Jasper to find. "Great," I muttered, turning onto Main Street. More secrets. The library smelled of lemon wax and panic. "It's a load-bearing wall, Miller." The voice echoed up the marble staircase, high, pitched, and undeniably Jasper. I walked into the lobby, empty. A closed for renovation sign taped crookedly to the desk. Dust motes floated in the shafts of light. "It is not load-bearing," a deeper voice boomed from below. "It's plaster and lath. I can take it down with a sneeze." "If you sneeze on that wall, I will sue you," Jasper shouted back. "That wall partitions the rare book vault. If dust gets on the Penhaligon collection, I will feed you to the bookworms." I grinned, hitching my tool bag higher. Jasper was evolving. A month ago, he apologized to furniture for bumping into it. Now he was threatening contractors. I went down the stairs. The stone steps were worn in the center, dipped by a century of shoes. My boots clapped on the granite. The air got cooler, heavier. The smell of damp limestone, wet chalk, was overpowering, mixed with drywall dust and the funk of river mud. I pushed through a plastic curtain and stepped into the mess. The archive prep room looked like a bomb had gone off in a Home Depot. Drop cloths everywhere, dehumidifiers humming in the corner. Jasper stood with his back to a plastic-wrapped bookshelf. No tweed. He wore stiff, dark denim jeans cuffed at the ankle, a white button-down, and a yellow hard hat that sat crookedly on his head. Facing him was Miller Thorne. Miller was a cinder block of a man. Square, solid, covered in white dust. He held a 10-pound sledgehammer in one hand like it was a fly swatter. "Merritt," Jasper sagged. "Thank God. The cavalry. Tell him physics exists." "Morning, Jasper. Miller." Miller grunted. "Vance, charging by the hour to stand there?" "Charging by the headache," I said, dropping my bag. "What's the problem?" "Miller wants to knock down the partition." Jasper pointed to the north wall, a blank white expanse streaked with dark water stains. Blueprints show a column behind it. If he removes it, the children's section upstairs sags. "Blueprints are wrong," Miller spat. He tapped the hammer on the floor. Clink. I tapped it. Hollow, dead space, probably an old coal chute. "Knock it down, we get airflow. Dry books." I walked to the wall. The hum was quiet, just background static, but the hair on my arms stood up. I put my hand on the plaster. Cool. Clammy. "Not a coal chute," I said. "Building faces the river. Coal loading was on the south side." "See?" Jasper squared his shoulders. "Geography." "But," I said, tapping the wall. Thump, thump. "Miller is right. It's hollow." The sound wasn't the solid thud of masonry. It was the drum beat of a void. "Too deep for a column," I said. "Feels like a false wall." "Void means space," Miller said. "Space means I swing." "Wait." I pulled my level, placed it against the plaster. The bubble drifted left. "It's bowing," I said. "Outward." "Water damage," Miller said. "Sheetrock swells." "Not sheetrock." I scratched the surface with a nail. Gray grit under white paint. Lime plaster. Old. I looked at Jasper. "Not on the 1905 plan?" "No." Jasper slapped a blueprint on a stack of drywall. "Archive room ends here. That wall should be the foundation." "So someone built a false wall," I said, "creating a gap." "Why?" Miller asked. "Insulation?" "Maybe," Jasper said. "Soundproofing?" "To hide something," I said. Miller rolled his eyes. "History people. Always think it's treasure. It's usually dead rats, Vance. Stinks for a week." He hefted the hammer. One swing. Test hole. Hit brick. I stop. Hit air. We go. "Jasper?" Jasper looked at the water stains, at the humidifiers. He knew Miller was right about the airflow. He adjusted his glasses. "Do it. Carefully." Miller didn't do carefully. He swung. Crack. Dust exploded. White lime and horsehair binder choked the air. Jasper coughed, waving his hand. "I said careful," he wheezed. Miller stepped back. "Hollow. Told you." He'd punched a hole the size of a dinner plate. Behind it, darkness, and a smell. It rolled out of the hole, heavy and physical. Not mold, not rats, not swamp. Dry rot, musty fabric, and something sweet. Dried flowers and old leather. Something fluttered in the draft. "What is that?" Jasper shined his flashlight into the dust. Miller leaned in. "Insulation? Plastic?" He reached a gloved hand in, grabbed the fluttering material, pulled. Zip, tape giving way. Miller stumbled back, holding a piece of yellowed, brittle plastic sheeting. Something else fell out with a dry rattle. It hit the concrete and rolled to Jasper's boot. Jasper looked down. He didn't scream. He just stopped moving. It was a hand. Not bone. Not white. Dried. Brown and papery, looking like tobacco leaf. The fingernails were intact, long, painted a chipped maroon. And on the ring finger, loose enough to slide, a ring. Silver. A large, oval turquoise stone. The hum slammed into my head. Not a buzz, a scream. High, thin, and hysterical. Betrayal. I grabbed a sawhorse to keep from hitting the floor. "Don't touch it," I gasped. Miller stared at the hand. He dropped the hammer. Clang. "I didn't do that," Miller whispered, backing up. "That ain't me." Jasper looked at the hand, then the wall. "Merritt," he said, voice flat. "That's not 1905. I forced myself up, shined my light into the hole. Inside the void, wedged into the 18-inch space between the false wall and the foundation, was a shape, wrapped in layers of industrial plastic, taped tight, standing upright. "No," I whispered. I looked at the ring. Turquoise, silver, chunky. That wasn't Victorian. That wasn't a pirate. That was 1990s mall jewelry. "Call Pasco," I said. The silence was absolute, broken only by the hum of the dehumidifier drying out the dead. "Who is it?" Jasper whispered. I looked at the maroon nail polish. "I don't know," I said. "But someone went to a lot of trouble to keep her here." Miller bolted. He ran for the stairs, boots slipping on the plastic. Jasper stayed. He looked like he might throw up, but he didn't run. I looked at the wall again. Rourke had been right. Old buildings have secrets. My hand went to the ring again, that cheap, chunky silver that every girl in my junior class had wanted. I hadn't realized the secret would be wearing my high school graduation year on her finger, or that I was the one who was going to have to tell the town what it meant. Chapter 2. The Silent Treatment. Police lights never looked heroic in the daylight. They just looked annoying. I sat on the front steps of the Athenaeum, blinking against the strobe. The red and blue flash bounced off the live oaks, creating a disorienting effect that did nothing for my migraine. The heat was already climbing, turning the morning humidity into a sauna that smelled of diesel exhaust and damp moss. My coffee, procured by the terrified intern Jasper had sent on a run specifically to get me out of the basement, was lukewarm. It tasted like charcoal. "So," Detective Pascoe said. He stood on the bottom step, looking up at me. He hadn't changed much in the 6 weeks since we'd closed the Gills case. Same ill-fitting suit that seemed personally offended by his shoulders. Same sweat stains blooming under the arms. Same look that said I was a traffic violation he couldn't quite cite but desperately wanted to. "He ran," Pascoe said. "Panic," I said, taking a sip of the sad coffee. "He found a body in a wall, Pascoe. Most people don't stick around for the paperwork." "Innocent people do." Pascoe scribbled something in his notebook with a cheap ballpoint that clicked aggressively. "Guilty people run, especially guilty people with a record for B&E and petty theft in 3 counties. Miller Thorne is a contractor," I pointed out. "If he wanted to hide a body, he wouldn't have punched a hole in the wall designed to hide it. He would have sheetrocked over it, painted it beige, and charged Jasper double for the historical preservation." Pascoe stopped writing. He looked at the library doors where the forensics team, 2 guys from the county coroner's office who looked like they'd rather be fishing, were hauling in a gurney. "You're assuming he didn't put it there," Pascoe said. "Maybe he forgot where he buried it. Maybe he got hired to renovate and panicked, realizing he was about to expose his own work. Happens." "The wall was plaster and lath," I said. "Victorian style, horsehair binder. That body has been there a long time. Miller's 40. Unless he was burying bodies when he was in kindergarten, the math doesn't work. Physics doesn't work." "We'll see," Pascoe grunted. "Medical examiner is down there now. Sterling. You know him?" "I know he hates mud." "He hates you, actually. Something about a crime scene in a swamp." Pascoe checked his watch. "You stay here. Don't touch anything. Don't sense anything." "Too late," I muttered as he walked away. "Already sensed it." The hum was a low throb in my jaw now. It had settled from the initial scream of discovery into a dull, persistent ache that sat right behind my molars. It tasted like copper and old perfume. Betrayal. That was the flavor. Not the hot spike of anger. Not the cold shiver of fear. It was the heavy weight of a knife in the back. It made my stomach turn. I closed my eyes, trying to block out the lights. "Merritt." The voice was sharp, polished, and carried the specific frequency of a woman who chaired 3 committees. I opened my eyes. Evelyn Pates was marching up the walkway. Evelyn was the aunt of Orion Pates, my sometimes client, full-time, beautifully useless antique dealer. She was also on the library board. She was 70, wore pearls like armor, and had hair so perfectly coiffed it likely had its own structural engineer. She stopped at the police tape, glaring at the officer until he physically shrank. "What is going on?" she demanded, spotting me. "Why are there police at my library? We have the gala next week." I stood up, dusting off the seat of my jeans. "Morning, Evelyn. There was an issue in the basement." "An issue?" She stepped over the tape. The officer didn't stop her. You didn't stop Evelyn Pates. The dehumidifiers? Jasper told me he had it under control. I told the board he was too young for this interim position. I told them. It's not the humidifiers, I said. Additional cars were pulling up, news vans, the Fallows Gazette. In a town this small, Body in the library traveled faster than fiber optics. Jasper walked out of the library doors. He stopped when he saw Evelyn. He looked less like a sexy architect now and more like a man who had seen too much. His face was pale, his denim shirt damp with sweat. He was holding his hard hat in both hands like a shield. "Evelyn," Jasper said. His voice cracked. He cleared it. "Mrs. Pates." "Jasper!" Evelyn marched up the steps, her heels clicking on the stone. "Explain this. Why is there a coroner's van in my loading zone?" "We found something," Jasper said, "during the demolition." "Found what? Termites?" "A body," I said. Evelyn froze. She turned to me slowly, her expression shifting from annoyance to something unreadable. "Excuse me?" "A body," I repeated. "Behind the north partition wall. A woman." For a second, Evelyn's face went blank. The polished socialite mask slipped, revealing something sharp and fearful underneath. Then it was gone. "Historical?" she asked, her voice tight. "A settler? One of the originals?" "No," Jasper said quietly. "It's recent. Well, 20 years recent." Evelyn's hand went to her pearls. She gripped them. 20 years? That's impossible. Who? "We don't know yet," Jasper said. "They're cutting the plastic now." "Plastic?" Evelyn whispered. "She was wrapped in plastic?" "Yes," I said, watching her closely. "Why?" "Nothing," she snapped, recovering. "It's just ghastly. Absolutely ghastly. And the gala. We can't have a crime scene during the Founders' Gala. The press will have a field day. Murder in the stacks. It's tacky." She pulled a phone from her purse, a gold iPhone that looked like a weapon. "I need to call the mayor. We need this handled quietly, discreetly." "It's a homicide, Evelyn," I said. "You can't handle it quietly." "Watch me," she said. She turned and walked away, dialing furiously. I watched her go. The hum buzzed, not a spike, but a murmur. "She's worried about the gala," Jasper said, shaking his head. "A woman is dead, and she's worried about the canapes." "She's worried about something," I said. "But I don't think it's the appetizers." I sat back down. "Tell me about the body, Jasper. What else did you see?" Jasper sat next to me. He leaned his elbows on his knees, staring at the ground. "They cut the plastic," he said softly, "while we were waiting for Sterling, just the top layer, to check for gases." "And?" "She has red hair," Jasper said. I froze. My hand went unconsciously to my own messy bun, hidden under the cap. Red hair? Dyed, I think, or faded, but red. And she was wearing a uniform, or what was left of one. "What kind of uniform?" "A gray skirt, a blouse with a collar, and a pin," Jasper said. "An enamel pin on the lapel. A book." He looked at me. "The Athenaeum logo," he whispered. "The old one, from the 90s. My stomach dropped. She was staff. "Yeah." "Who, Jasper? You know the history of this place better than anyone. Who worked here 20 years ago?" "Arthur," Jasper said. "Arthur was director, and there was a woman, an assistant. I remember seeing her name in the logs when I was digitizing the payroll records. What name? Clara, he said. Clara Finch. The name hit me, not because I knew it, but because Rourke had said it. Clara. Pasco thinks it's Miller, Jasper continued. But Miller didn't work here then. Arthur did. Arthur is in jail, I said, for murder. Exactly. He's the perfect suspect. He was here. He had the keys. He had the motive. What motive? I don't know, Jasper admitted. But Arthur hated anyone touching his books. Maybe she shelved something wrong. It was a joke, but neither of us laughed. I need to call Rourke, I said, standing up again. He warned me, this morning. He knew about that wall. I left Jasper on the steps and walked around to the side of the building near the AC units. The noise drowned out the crowd. I dialed Rourke. He answered instantly. Is it done? His voice was thin, reedy, like paper. We found her, I said. North partition, staff uniform. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Rourke? She wasn't supposed to be there, he whispered. She was supposed to be gone. Run away to Key West with a shrimper. That was the story. Whose story? Arthur's, Rourke said. And hers. She left a note. Rourke, I said, leaning against the brick wall. It was hot against my shoulder. Jasper identified the logo. It's Clara Finch. A sharp intake of breath. Clara. You knew her? She was bright, Rourke said. Too bright for this town. She asked questions about the archives, about the missing years in the census. The displacement? I asked. Maybe, Rourke said. She came to me the day before she vanished, summer of '95. She was terrified, Merritt. She said she found something in the Penhaligon papers, something she wasn't supposed to see. And she came to you? I was the coroner, Rourke said. She trusted me. And what did you do? I told her to leave, Rourke's voice broke. I told her to pack a bag and go. I thought she did. I filed the missing person report myself a week later when she didn't show up for work. Arthur showed me the note. It looked real. Arthur, I spat. Of course. Be careful, Merritt, Rourke warned. The ring, the plastic. What about the plastic? Is it yellow? Heavy gauge? Yes. Does it have a stamp? I closed my eyes. Jasper saw it. Vance Construction Supply. God, Rourke breathed. They used our supplies. Jasper says it was Dad's company then, before you sold it. It was, Rourke said. We supplied the whole county, but Pasco won't see it that way. He'll see the name Vance wrapped around a dead body. Let him look, I said. I'm not the one who hides bodies, Uncle. I'm the one who finds them. Just watch Evelyn Pates, Rourke said suddenly. I frowned. Evelyn? She's here. She's worried about her gala. Evelyn was on the board in '95, too, Rourke said. She and Arthur, they were close. They protected the library together. If Arthur killed Clara, Evelyn might have known. I looked back at the front steps. Evelyn was still there, talking to a news crew. She looked composed, regal, a queen holding court over a grave. I have to go, I said. They're bringing her out. I hung up and walked back. The medical examiner, Sterling, emerged from the doors. He was a small man who wore pristine scrubs and looked at the world with clinical distaste. Behind him, 2 assistants wheeled the gurney. The black bag was zipped shut, but the shape was undeniable. Small. Human. Pasco walked over to Sterling, They spoke in low tones. Pasco pointed at Miller's truck, still parked in the lot. Sterling shrugged. Then Pasco looked at me. I walked up to him. Jasper trailed behind me like a ghost. "Her name is Clara Finch," I said. "She went missing in 1995, assistant librarian." Pasco blinked. He looked at his notebook, then at me. "How do you know that?" "I do my job," I said. "Verify it with dental. But Pasco?" "Yeah?" "Check who signed the missing person report," I said. It was Rourke. He was coroner, and Arthur Penhaligon was the one who reported her missing. Pasco narrowed his eyes. "You telling me how to run my investigation, Vance?" "I'm telling you that Miller Thorne is a decoy," I said. "Miller was 20 years old in 1995. He was probably stealing hubcaps, not building false walls in historical landmarks." "We found a panic room's worth of supplies behind that wall," Pasco said. "Plastic sheeting, tape, cans of sealant, all from Vance Construction." He watched my face. "My dad's company," I said evenly. "We sold supplies to everyone, including the library." "Convenient," Pasco said. "Body wrapped in your family's plastic, found by you, identified by your uncle." "And killed by someone who had keys to the library," I shot back. "Which I didn't. Neither did Rourke." "We'll see," Pasco said. "I'm bringing Miller in as soon as we find him. You stay out of my way." He walked back to his cruiser. I turned to Jasper. He was staring at the gurney as they loaded it into the van. "He's going to pin it on Miller," Jasper said. "Or us." "He's going to try," I said. "But he's forgetting one thing." "What?" "Arthur," I said. "Arthur is alive. He's in jail. And he was here in 1995. "You want to talk to Arthur?" Jasper looked terrified. "Merritt, he tried to kill us." "He tried to kill us to protect a secret," I said. "Maybe this was the secret. Or maybe Clara found another one." I watched Evelyn Pates finish her interview. She smoothed her skirt, shot a look of pure venom at the coroner's van, and marched towards her Mercedes. "Rourke said Evelyn and Arthur were close," I murmured. "They were," Jasper said. "They hated each other, but they were allies, the guardians of history." "Let's go," I said, grabbing my truck keys. "Where?" "Jail," I said. "We have a librarian to visit." "I hate prisons," Jasper sighed, but he followed me. "They have terrible lighting, and the acoustic properties are a nightmare." "Focus on the murder, Jasper," I said, opening the truck door. "Critique the architecture later." We climbed in. The truck roared to life, drowning out the sirens. We had a name. We had a timeline. And we had a suspect who was already behind bars. It should have been easy. But the hum in my jaw was still throbbing, a sharp taste of betrayal that made me grit my teeth. If Arthur was the key, then we weren't just investigating a cold case. We were walking straight back into the lion's den. I put the truck in gear and pulled out onto the road, leaving the sirens behind. Chapter 3. The Scapegoat. Small towns ruin fugitives. Miller Thorne hadn't made it past Suter's salvage. Pasco found him sitting on a pile of rusted rebar, drinking a Gatorade. He hadn't run. He'd just quit for the day. Now he was in the back of Pasco's cruiser in the library parking lot, looking less like a murderer and more like a contractor waiting on a permit. I stood by the window. The cruiser's AC was blasting, fogging up the glass. Miller looked at me. He looked resigned. "Open it," I told Pasco. Pasco leaned against the hood, cleaning his sunglasses with a tie that was older than I was. He's custody Vance. No interviews. I'm not interviewing him. I'm checking the foundation. The foundation is in the basement. Miller is the foundation of your case. If he cracks, the whole thing comes down. Just let me ask him one thing. Pascoe sighed, put his sunglasses back on, and tapped the glass. The window rolled down 3 inches. Cold air hit my face, smelling of vinyl and stale sweat. I didn't do it, Merritt, Miller said. His voice sounded like gravel in a mixer. I know. The hum was quiet. Usually near a killer, the hum in my jaw buzzed like a high-tension wire, the static of violence. With Miller, silence, just the humid buzz of the cicadas in the live oaks. Why run? I asked. Because I'm me, Miller said. And he's him. He jerked his chin at Pascoe. I got a record. I was holding a sledgehammer next to a dead body. What was I supposed to do? Wait for him to bake me a cake? You broke the wall, I said. You found her. I was doing my job. Miller leaned his head back against the headrest. She was wrapped tight, Merritt. Plastic, taped. Someone put her there careful. Didn't just dump her. Stood her up. Wedged her in. Careful? Yeah. And she had ballast. Ballast? In the plastic, Miller said. Felt it when I pulled. Hard lumps. Like brick, maybe. Or books. Taped in there with her. Evidence, I whispered. Miller, Pascoe interrupted, tapping the roof. Shut up. She asked, Miller grunted. I'm just saying, I didn't put her there. But whoever did, they packed her for travel. The window rolled up. I watched Pascoe get in. The cruiser pulled away, crunching over the oyster shell gravel. He didn't do it, I said to the empty lot. I know. Jasper stood behind me, tweed jacket back on, armor. How do you know? I asked. Claustrophobia, Jasper said. Miller refused to check the crawlspace wiring last week, made his apprentice do it. No way Miller Thorne spent hours in a sealed wall cavity taping up a body. That is a very good point. Did you tell Pascoe? Pascoe doesn't care about phobias. He cares about closing the case before the gala. Jasper adjusted his glasses. Evelyn called. She wants the basement sealed. Out of sight, out of mind. We can't seal it, I said. Miller said there were books taped in the plastic. Jasper's eyes went wide. Evidence. If Clara found something in the archives, maybe she took it with her. Maybe the killer wrapped it up with her. We need to get back in, Jasper said, before the coroner sweeps the scene, before Evelyn locks it down. Police tape, I pointed at the loading dock, yellow plastic fluttering in the breeze. I'm the director, Jasper said, though he didn't look convinced. It's a crime scene. Pascoe has the keys. Does he have the keys to the coal chute? Jasper blinked. The one you said wasn't there? The one I said wasn't a coal chute, I said. I didn't say it wasn't an entrance. Spade met us at dusk. The sun was dropping, dragging the humidity down with it. The air felt heavy, wet. Spade leaned against the brick, whittling a piece of driftwood. He wore his usual cargo pants stained with unidentifiable earth. You called, Spade rumbled. We need a lookout, I said. Jasper and I are going in. Spade looked at the library. He hated the library. To Spade, buildings were just piles of stone waiting to fall down. Police tape, Spade noted, pointing his knife. Structural emergency, I lied. We're going under. I led them through the azaleas to the south side. The old coal delivery hatch was set into the foundation, half buried in mulch. Pascoe doesn't know this opens. I said, crouching. Because I sealed it with lime mortar 3 years ago. Lime is soft. I pulled a chisel, tapped the edge. Clink. White dust crumbled. You left a back door, Jasper said. Maintenance hatch, I corrected, in case I locked my keys inside, which I haven't. Yet. It took 5 minutes to chip the mortar. The iron door groaned as I pried it open. A dark, cobwebbed slide led down into the gloom. Ladies first, Spade said. You're not coming? Too many words in there, Spade shuddered. I'll watch the road. If Pasco comes back, I'll hoot. Please don't, I said. Just text me. I slid down the chute. Tight squeeze. Rusty. I landed in a pile of mulch in the boiler room. Jasper followed, landing with a muffled oof. We stood up. The basement was silent. Work lights off. Street lights filtered through the high windows, casting long, warped shadows across the plastic sheets. The hum started up. Low. Warning. We walked to the archive prep room. I ducked under the police tape. Felony, Jasper whispered. Consulting, I said. I turned on my flashlight. The beam hit the hole in the wall. It looked like a wound. Jagged plaster, white lath bone. The void beyond was black. I walked up to it. The smell was still there. Faint. Dried flowers. Miller said there were books, I said. Taped in. I reached into the hole. The air inside was cold. My hand brushed something. Not brick. Paper. I grabbed it. Pulled. Not a box. A book. Small, leather-bound, warped from damp, but the gold leaf held. The Folk Tales of the Fallows. Volume 1. Folklore, Jasper whispered. Why bury her with a folklore book? I opened it. Pages stiff, brittle, handwritten. Diary, I said, hiding inside a cover. I shined the light on the first page. June 14th, 1995. Arthur thinks I don't know, but I saw the ledger. I saw the map. The displacement map, Jasper breathed. I turned the page. July 2nd, 1995. It's not just Arthur, it's the board. Evelyn was here tonight, starting to think the foundation isn't the only thing rotting. Evelyn, I said. Rourke was right. I flipped to the last entry. Scrawled. Hasty. The ink smeared. He's coming. Can hear him on the stairs. Hid the proof. Not here. He'll burn this place to find it. Put it where only the ghosts look. 398.2. The tale of the greedy king. The writing stopped. Dewey Decimal, Jasper said. 398.2 is folklore. She hid the proof in the stacks, I said, in 1995. Clang. A noise. Upstairs. We froze. Not a hoot. Not a text. Footsteps. Heavy. Booted. Walking on marble. Pasco, Jasper whispered. I shook my head. Pasco squeaked. These were solid, and they were coming towards the basement stairs. Hide! I hissed. We scrambled behind the stack of dehumidifiers just as a flashlight beam swung into the room. Not a police light. Tactical. Bright. A figure stepped in. Black clothes. Face covered. Holding a gas can. Oh, Jasper squeaked. The figure stopped, turned the light to the wall, to the hole. They weren't looking for the diary. They were looking to finish the renovation. Run, I whispered. The beam swept across the wall, inches from our faces. I didn't wait to see who was holding it. I grabbed Jasper's sleeve, yanked him toward the shadows of the boiler room, and prayed the dehumidifiers were loud enough to mask the sound of our panic. Chapter 4. The Haunting. Fire in a library isn't just arson, it's blasphemy. The figure in black raised the gas can. Fluid sloshed out, soaking the drop cloths and the debris pile. The smell of gasoline hit me instantly, sharp and chemical, cutting through the musty scent of the basement. "Run!" I tackled Jasper, shoving him toward the marble stairs. Jasper stumbled, outraged. "That is the Penhaligon collection. You cannot burn the—" "Go!" The match struck. Whoomp. It wasn't a roar. It was a concussion. The gasoline ignited, and a wall of orange heat punched the air. We scrambled up the steps, boots slipping on the stone. Smoke, black, oily, curled around our ankles. We burst into the lobby. Dark, silent. "Fire alarm!" Jasper gasped, lunging for the red box on the wall. "Wait." I grabbed his wrist. "What? Merritt? The basement is on fire." "Listen." Silence. No crackle. No roar. The heavy, thudding sound of flames consuming oxygen was gone. I walked to the top of the stairs. The orange glow that had filled the stairwell a second ago had vanished. "It's out?" Jasper whispered. "How?" "Halon," I asked. "Disabled. Budget cuts." I turned on my flashlight and aimed it down. The beam cut through the lingering smoke. The drop cloths were charred black. The plastic sheeting was melted into grotesque stalactites. But the fire was dead. And the floor. "Books," Jasper breathed. They were everywhere. Dozens of heavy, leather-bound encyclopedias lay scattered across the burn site. They formed a lumpy, chaotic mound directly over the ignition point. "They fell," Jasper said, "from the shelves." "Books don't fall in a pile, Jasper. They scatter." I walked down the stairs, stepping over a volume of Britannica, A to C. I knelt by the pile. The books weren't just burned. They were wedged, jammed together so tightly they had smothered the flames before they could climb the wall. I looked at the shelves above. Empty. The hum buzzed in my jaw. Not a warning this time. Recognition. The air in the basement was freezing. A sudden, sharp drop in temperature that smelled of peppermint. "She's here," I whispered. "Who?" "The librarian," I said. "The real one." A metal clang echoed from the back of the basement. The loading dock. "The arsonist!" I shouted. I bolted, jumping over the book mound. Jasper followed, clutching his hat. We burst out into the alley. Spade was there. He held his whittling knife in one hand and a black woolen ski mask in the other. He looked annoyed. "Spade!" I yelled. "Did you see him?" Spade looked at the mask, then down the alley toward the river. "Fast," Spade rumbled. "Slippery, like an eel." "Did you stop him?" "Tried. Left this." He tossed me the mask. I caught it. Cheap wool, smelled of sweat and turpentine. "Construction," I said. "Sawdust and paint thinner." "Like Miller?" Jasper asked, panting. "Or someone trying to smell like Miller." I shined my light down the alley. Empty. But in the distance, the sound of an outboard motor faded into the night. "Boat," Jasper said. "Of course." "This is the Fallows. Everyone has an escape route." I looked back at the library door, at the dark basement where the fire had died. "The diary," Jasper realized. "Is it safe?" I patted my back pocket. I felt the shape of the leather book. Safe, I said. But he knows we have it, or he knows we were looking. They tried to burn the evidence, Jasper said, and failed. Because the books fell, I said firmly, though the smell of peppermint was still in my nose. Structural vibration, loose shelves. Jasper looked at me. You don't believe that? I don't believe in ghosts, Jasper. I believe in physics. And right now, physics says we need to find what Clara hid. The clue, Jasper nodded. 398.2. The folklore section. Now, after fire and weasels? The arsonist is gone. The fire is out. I turned back to the loading dock. And if we wait, Evelyn Pates will seal this building tighter than a tomb. It's now or never. The folklore section was on the second floor, west wing, the oldest part of the library. The floorboards groaned under our weight. We walked down the aisle. 300, 350. 398.2, Jasper whispered. I shined my light on the shelf. Grimm, Anderson, Myths of the Swamp. What are we looking for? Clara said she hid the proof where only the ghosts look. I scanned the spines. Most were standard library binding. One wasn't. It was a box. A false book made to look like a volume of Encyclopedia of Southern Hexes. That one, I pointed. Jasper reached out. He pulled it from the shelf. It was light. Too light. He opened the cover. Hollowed out. Empty. No, Jasper breathed. It's gone. Someone beat us to it, I said, slamming my hand against the shelf. But Clara died 20 years ago. If the killer found it then, why kill her? Maybe they didn't find it then. Maybe they found it recently. I shined my light into the empty hollow. A scrap of paper. A thermal receipt. The Fog Cutter Cafe. Yesterday. 2 p.m. I turned it over. Written in Sharpie. Stop digging, Vance, or you're next. The hum spiked. Threat. I looked at Jasper. Whoever killed Clara is watching us, and they have the proof. Jasper swallowed hard. So, what do? We go to the one person who might know what was in that box. Who? The only other person who was here in 1995, I said. We go to jail. We talk to Arthur. Jasper nodded, clutching the empty book. Don't tell Pasco. No, I agreed. This stays between us and the ghosts. I grabbed my keys, the weight of the empty book still heavy in Jasper's hands. Come on, I said, heading for the door. If Arthur Penhaligon wants visitors, he's about to get the least friendly ones in town. Chapter 5. Jailhouse Rock. I brought him a scone, Jasper said. We sat in the waiting room of the Fallows County Detention Center. It looked exactly like the DMV, but with more plexiglass and better magazines. You brought the man who tried to kill us a baked good? I asked, eyeing the Tupperware container on Jasper's lap. It's a peace offering. Jasper smoothed his tie. He had changed back into tweed for the visit, claiming denim was disrespectful to the judicial system. And it's blueberry, his favorite. I thought, if I feed him, he might not eviscerate me. He's behind glass, Jasper. He can't eviscerate anything but his own dignity. I shifted in the hard plastic chair. The hum was quiet here. Prisons were full of misery, but it was paper-pushing misery. It didn't buzz like murder. Vance? Abernathy? The guard at the desk called out. He looked like he'd been carved out of a potato. Booth 4. We walked through the metal detector, Jasper beeped. "It's my suspenders," he apologized, looking terrified. "Vintage brass, 1920s. The guard waved the wand. "Just go." We sat in booth 4. The glass was scratched, smeared with the oil of 1,000 foreheads leaning in despair. On the other side, Arthur Penhaligon sat waiting. He looked smaller. In the library, Arthur had been a giant, a monarch of dust. In an orange jumpsuit, he looked like an angry old turtle. His white hair was thinning, and without his gloves, his hands looked fragile. He picked up the receiver. Jasper picked up ours. His hand shook. "Hello, Arthur." Arthur stared at him. "You're wearing the fall 2023 tweed," he said. His voice was tinny through the phone, but the disdain was high definition. "With a summer weight shirt. It's gauche, Jasper." I brought you a scone," Jasper stammered, holding up the Tupperware. "Blueberry." "I can't eat that," Arthur snapped. "Contraband. Do you want me to get shanked for a pastry?" Jasper lowered the container. I took the phone from Jasper. "Cut the fashion critique, Arthur," I said. "We're not here for tea." Arthur's eyes shifted to me. They narrowed. "Miss Vance, still dressing like a lumberjack who lost a bet." "And you're dressing like a traffic cone," I shot back. "It suits you." Arthur smirked. "Touché. Why are you here? Come to gloat? Or did you finally break that angel in the boneyard and need instructions on glue?" "We found Clara," I said. The smirk vanished. Arthur went still. "Clara Finch," I said. "In the basement, behind the north partition wall." Arthur looked down at his hands. He picked at a loose thread on his cuff. "The north partition. I told Miller not to touch that wall." "You told him it was structural," I said. "It was," Arthur said softly. "It was holding up my reputation." "Did you kill her, Arthur?" He looked up. His eyes were tired. "I am many things, Merritt. A snob, a criminal, a protector of secrets. But I am not a butcher. I don't wrap women in plastic and shove them in walls like insulation." "You reported her missing," Jasper piped up, leaning near the receiver. "You told Rourke she resigned." "Because that's what I thought," Arthur snapped. "She left a note. I can't stay. Too many ghosts." I thought she meant memories. I didn't know she meant you people. "She found something," I said. "The diary. She hid it in the folklore section." Arthur froze. 398.2? "You knew?" "I suspected," Arthur sighed. "Clara was obsessed with the folktales. She thought the town's history was hidden in the myths. She was right, of course, but she was imprecise." "The diary is gone," I said. "Someone took it, and they tried to burn the library down to cover their tracks." "Burn it?" Arthur stood up. He slammed his hand against the glass. The guard looked over, bored. "Burn the Athenaeum? Who? Who would dare?" "Someone who doesn't want us to know what Clara found," I said. "Someone who was here in 1995. Someone you know." Arthur sat back down. He looked pale. "Evelyn Pates?" I asked. "She hated Clara," Arthur whispered. "Clara was dating her nephew, not Orion, the other one, the one who died." "Died?" Jasper frowned. "Orion doesn't have a brother." "Cousin," Arthur corrected. "Sebastian Pates, the heir. He died in a boating accident the same week Clara disappeared." The hum buzzed. Click. "A boating accident," I repeated, "and Clara was rumored to have run away with a sailor." "Pascoe didn't investigate Sebastian's death," Arthur said. Ruled it accidental, drowning. But if Clara found proof... Proof that Sebastian wasn't an accident? I asked. Or proof that Sebastian was part of the displacement cover-up, Arthur said. The Pates family built their fortune on shipping. If they were the ones who moved the bodies. He looked at me. Find the diary, Merritt. If Evelyn has it. We tried, I said. It's gone, but we found a receipt. Fog Cutter Cafe. Yesterday. Arthur laughed, a harsh, barking sound. The fog cutter? Evelyn wouldn't bear to be seen there. Too much grease. Then who? Ask the nephew, Arthur said. Orion. He inherited everything after Sebastian died. If Sebastian had lived, Orion would just be a shopkeeper. He is a shopkeeper, I said. He's a shopkeeper who owns half the waterfront, Arthur corrected. Sebastian's waterfront. The timer on the wall buzzed. Time's up, the guard yelled. Arthur stood up. He looked at Jasper. The scone, Arthur said. Leave it with the guard. I know a guy who can smuggle it in. Jasper beamed. Really? Yes. It will cost me 3 packs of cigarettes, but I miss blueberries. Arthur turned to me. Merritt, one more thing. Yeah? Clara wasn't just an assistant, Arthur said softly. She was my niece. I stared at him. Your niece? My sister's girl. I hired her to keep an eye on her. I failed. He placed his hand on the glass. Find who did this, and when you do, tell me. I might have some influence left in this town. He turned and walked back to his cell. We walked out into the blinding sunlight. Jasper clutched his empty Tupperware like a prize. His niece, Jasper whispered. He never told anyone. Secrets, I said. That man is made of secrets. I looked at the receipt in my pocket. The fog cutter. And the threat. Stop digging. We need to talk to Orion, I said. If he inherited the fortune because Sebastian died, and Clara knew about it, then Orion had a motive for both murders, Jasper finished. But Orion? He sells refinished doorknobs. He faints at the sight of blood. Maybe, I said, climbing into the truck. Or maybe he's just really good at acting. Where to? Jasper asked, buckling his seatbelt. Wick and wire, I said. I need to buy a doorknob and interrogate a suspect. Can we get coffee first? Jasper asked. Jail makes me thirsty. Fine, I sighed, but to go only. We have a murderer to catch. And, Jasper added, checking his reflection in the side mirror, I need to get this scone crumb off my tie. It's wildly unprofessional. I started the engine, drowning out the prison sirens. You're doing great, Director, I said. Just don't bribe the next suspect with pastry. No promises, Jasper said. Everyone likes blueberries. I pulled out of the visitor lot, the prison fading in the rearview mirror. Jasper was right about the coffee, but he was wrong about the pastries. We weren't dealing with blueberry fans. We were dealing with people who burned libraries to hide their secrets, and I had a feeling the next stop wasn't going to be as polite. Chapter 6. Wick and Wire. Wick and Wire was less of a shop and more of a fire hazard. Located in a converted bait shack on the riverfront, it specialized in industrial antiquities, which was a fancy term for rusty things Orion Pates found in a ditch and polished. The air smell of beeswax, lavender, and river mud. Don't touch anything, I warned Jasper. Last time I was here, a stack of cast-iron skillets tried to take my toe off. Jasper gingerly stepped over a coil of copper wire. It's remarkably textured. Merritt! Orion Pates popped up from behind a counter made of stacked apple crates. He wore a welding apron over a silk shirt, goggles pushed up into his perpetually messy blonde hair. And Jasper, Orion beamed, wiping grease-stained hands on a rag. The dynamic duo. Did you break another angel? I have a lovely limestone adhesive in stock, imported from Italy. No broken angels today, Orion, I said, leaning against a display of vintage doorknobs. We're here about something else. Oh? Orion picked up a silver teapot and began buffing it. Do tell, is it about the library? I heard the rumors. A body in the basement. How gothic. Aunt Evelyn is absolutely beside herself. She's threatened to sue the contractor, the coroner, and possibly the ghost of Melville Dewey. We spoke to Arthur, I said. Orion stopped buffing. The teapot hung in mid-air. Arthur, he repeated. In jail? He sends his regards, Jasper said, and he mentioned something about your cousin, Sebastian. Orion set the teapot down. He took off his goggles. His face, usually animated with nervous energy, went still. Sebastian, Orion said softly. I haven't heard that name in years, except from Evelyn, who mentions him every time I fail to live up to the Pates family legacy, which is weekly. Arthur thinks Clara Finch knew something about Sebastian's death, I said. Something that got her killed. Orion sighed. He leaned against a pile of antique radiators. Sebastian was the golden boy, Orion said. He was going to run the shipping empire. He was going to be mayor. He was going to save the library. I was just the spare, the one who liked shiny things. Arthur said Clara was dating him, Jasper said. Secretly, Orion nodded. Evelyn hated it. A Pates doesn't date the help, especially help that asks questions. What kind of questions? About the cargo, Orion said. Clara thought the family business wasn't just shipping oranges and timber. She thought they were moving other things. Like what? She never said, but she was convinced Sebastian was involved. And then Orion snapped his fingers. Gone, both of them. Sebastian drowns on a calm day. Clara vanishes, and I inherit everything. Including the waterfront property? I asked. Specifically the waterfront property, Orion said, which, ironically, I sold last year to the Conservation Trust. Evelyn nearly had a stroke. I pulled the receipt from my pocket. We found this, I said, placing it on the counter. In the library, where Clara hid her diary. Orion looked at it. Fog Cutter Cafe. That's yours, I said. Or at least, you're the one Arthur said would be eating grease burgers at the Fog Cutter. Orion picked it up. He read the threat on the back. Stop digging, Vance. The color drained from his face. I didn't write this. But it's your receipt, I said. Did you drop it? Orion frowned. I was at the Fog Cutter yesterday. Essential tremor, low blood sugar. I needed a burger. Did you meet anyone? Jasper asked. No. I sat alone, reading. Reading what? A catalog, Orion said. And, well, Dr. Thorne was there. Dr. Thorne? I asked. The rival academic? Eris Thorne. Unpleasant man. Smells like mothballs. He came over to my table, asked to borrow a pen. A Sharpie? I asked. Orion blinked. Yes, a black Sharpie. I use it to mark prices on the ironwork. Did he give it back? No, Orion realized. He walked off with it. He might have taken the receipt too. It was on the table. I looked at Jasper. The hum buzzed. Click. Eris Thorne, I said. He's been trying to get into the archives for weeks. He claims the library is hiding colonial atrocities. He's obsessed, Orion said. He thinks the Pates family built their fortune on, well, he calls it blood gold. Spanish gold, Jasper whispered. The reserve. If Heiress Thorne thinks the library is hiding proof of gold, I said, and he found out we were looking for Clara's diary, he'd want to stop us, Jasper finished, because he wants to find it first. Or, Orion said, his voice trembling, he wants to make sure the Pates family, meaning me, doesn't get blamed for it. He hates my family, but he needs access to my archives. Your archives? I asked. I have Sebastian's old journals, Orion said. In the back room. Thorne offered to buy them last week. I refused. Can we see them? Jasper asked. Orion hesitated. He looked at the receipt, then at us. If I show you, Orion said, his voice dropping to a whisper. He looked at the receipt, his hand trembling. Will you promise to keep Evelyn out of it? She came here last week, Merritt. She told me the Pates legacy is a house of cards, and if I pull the wrong one out, she'll make sure the whole thing collapses on me. She wasn't joking. Promise, I said, seeing the real terror in his eyes. Orion nodded. Follow me. He led us through a curtain of beads into the back room. It was piled high with cardboard boxes. Sebastian's life, Orion said, gesturing to a wall of dusty stacks that reached the ceiling. I haven't opened them since 1995. Good luck. It took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of shifting heavy cardboard, sneezing, and judging Sebastian Pate's taste in 90s music. Jasper found a collection of porcelain cats. Why? And I found enough moisture-warped paperbacks to build a raft. Finally, at the bottom of a crate marked Miscellaneous Recreation, I found it. A dive mask, an old one, dry-rotted, and a snorkel. And underneath it, wrapped in a towel, a gun, a small, pearl-handled revolver. The hum spiked. Violence. Orion, I said, steadying my voice. Did Sebastian own a gun? No, Orion whispered. He hated guns. Then why? I asked, lifting it with the edge of the towel. Is this hidden in his dive gear? Jasper leaned in. Merritt, look at the barrel. I looked. Gray residue on the tip. Lime, I said. And plaster. The wall, Jasper breathed. This isn't Sebastian's gun, I said. This is the murder weapon, and someone hid it in Sebastian's box. When? Orion squeaked. Recently, I said, pointing to the dust on the box. It was disturbed. Finger marks in the grime. Someone has been in here, I said. Thorne, Orion said. He was here last week, asking about the journals. I left him alone to answer the phone. I looked at the gun, then at the receipt. Thorne wants us to stop digging, I said, because he's trying to frame Sebastian Pates for a murder that happened 20 years ago. Or he's trying to frame me, Orion said. The murder weapon, in my shop, found by the town sleuth. We need to go, I said, dropping the towel back over the gun. We need to find Thorne. And, Jasper added, looking at a display of artisanal coffee mugs near the door, we probably need more coffee. This is getting complicated. To go, I agreed. We have a professor to school. We left wick and wire, the bell chiming behind us. Orion locked the door, flipped the sign to closed, and retreated into his fortress of rust. Outside, the river was calm, but the hum in my jaw was a storm. Heiress Thorne, I said. He has the receipt, he has the Sharpie, and he planted the gun. But why? Jasper asked. He's an academic. Why kill Clara? He didn't kill Clara, I said. He wasn't here in 1995, but he knows who did, and he's using it. Blackmail? Or leverage, I said. He wants into those archives, Jasper, and he's willing to burn down the library and frame Orion to get in. So where do we find him? He's a visiting academic, I said, which means he's staying at the only place in town with historic charm and Wi-Fi. The Magnolia Inn, Jasper sighed. Their scones are terrible. I slipped the receipts into my pocket, the crinkle of paper loud in the quiet shop. Grab your coat, Orion, I said, heading for the door. The Magnolia Inn might have terrible scones, but it's about to have a very interesting afternoon tea. Chapter 7. The Magnolia Inn. The Magnolia Inn weaponized its charm. It was a Victorian mansion painted a shade of yellow that could be seen from space, with a wraparound porch and enough hanging ferns to simulate a minor jungle ecosystem. Inside, it smelled aggressively of lavender potpourri. I hate this place, I whispered as we walked into the lobby. It feels like being trapped in a doily. It's charming, Jasper countered, though he looked nervous. And they have excellent scones, much better than the prisons. We are not here for scones, Jasper. The lobby was empty except for a terrifyingly cheerful woman at the front desk who looked like she'd been knit out of wool. Welcome to the Magnolia, she chirped. Here for high tea? Here for Dr. Thorne, I said. Is he in? Oh, Dr. Thorne. Room 302, the Camellia Suite. He's been terribly busy, very studious. Though he did order a lot of room service last night. 3 club sandwiches. Stress eating, Jasper noted. We climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. The hallway carpet was floral. The wallpaper was floral. It felt like being digested by a garden. We stopped at room 302. Do we knock? Jasper asked. Or kick it down? This is mahogany, I said. If I kick it, I'll break my foot. We knock. I knocked. No answer. I knocked harder. Dr. Thorne, it's Merritt Vance. We need to talk about the library. A scuffling sound from inside. Then silence. The hum buzzed in my jaw. Low. Fear. He's in there, I said. Dr. Thorne, Jasper projected his voice, using his lecture hall tone. We know about the gun. Open up or I will revoke your research privileges. Jasper, I sighed. That was your threat? It works on grad students. The lock clicked. The door opened 2 inches, held by a chain. One terrified blue eye peered out. Go away, a voice hissed. I'm working. We know you planted the gun at Wick and Wire, I said. And we know you stole the book from the folklore section. The eye widened. I don't know what you're talking about. Orion Pates sends his regards, I lied. And so does the police department, unless you want to explain why the gun was wrapped in your gym towel. Thorne flinched. The door slammed shut. Well, Jasper said, that went well. Then the chain rattled. The door opened fully. Dr. Aris Thorne stood in the doorway. He was a small man, wearing a silk robe that was far too expensive for an academic salary. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. His hair was a mess, and his hands shook. Come inside, he whispered. Quickly. We stepped into the Camellia Suite. It was a disaster. Papers were scattered everywhere. Maps, old census records, detailed architectural drawings of the library. You've been busy, I said, stepping over a pile of blueprints. Research, Thorne said, his voice trembling. Just research. Planting a murder weapon isn't research, Thorne, I said. It's a felony. Thorne collapsed onto the bed. I didn't have a choice. She made me. She? Jasper asked. Who? Thorne looked up. His face was pale. You know who. The one who signs the checks. The one who told me where to look. Evelyn Pates, I said. Thorne nodded miserably. She hired me. Said she wanted to fund my work on the colonial atrocities. Said she wanted the truth to come out. But she didn't want the truth. She wanted the diary. Clara's diary, Jasper said. The one hid in 398.2. You found it, I said. Before we did. I found the box, Thorne admitted. The false book. Where is it? I asked. Thorne pointed to the hotel safe in the corner of the room. It was open. Inside lay the leather-bound volume of Encyclopedia of Southern Hexes. Give it to me, I said. Thorne hesitated. If I give it to you, she'll kill me. She said if I didn't bring it to her by tonight, she'd ruin me. She'd burn my career to the ground. She already tried to burn the library, Jasper snapped. Your career is the least of our worries. I haven't read it, Thorne whispered. I was too scared. I just took it. I saw the receipt you found, the threat. I thought if I just did what she asked, she'd let me go. She won't, I said. Evelyn doesn't let people go. She buries them. I walked over to the safe. I picked up the book. It felt heavy. Heavier than it looked. Thorne, I said, you're going to stay here. You're going to lock this door, and you're not going to open it for anyone but Detective Pascoe. Pascoe, Thorne squeaked. I'm calling him, I said. I'm telling him you're a material witness who wants protective custody. Protective custody? Thorne looked hopeful. Does that include room service? It includes not getting murdered by a socialite, I said. I tucked the book under my arm. Come on, Jasper, I said. We have some reading to do. Wait! Thorne called out as we reached the door. Warning! It's locked! The book? I asked. The box, Thorne said. It has a latch, a puzzle lock. I couldn't open it. That's why I haven't given it to Evelyn yet. I was trying to pry it open without destroying it. I looked at the false book. Sure enough, along the edge of the pages, there was a mechanism. Small dials. Brass gears. I'm a mason, Thorne, I said. I'm good with structures. We left Thorne in his floral prison and walked out to the truck. I sat in the driver's seat, holding the book. So, Jasper said, we have the diary, we have the witness, but we don't know what's inside. We know Evelyn wants it, I said, badly enough to plant a gun and threaten an academic. Do you think you can open it? I ran my thumb over the brass dials. It's not a generic lock, I said. It's custom. Probably something Clara made herself. Or something she borrowed from the collection, Jasper said. A puzzle box. I started the engine. Where are we going? Jasper asked. The police station? No, I said. Pascoe will just impound this as evidence. We need to know what it says first. So where? Rourke's, I said. He knew Clara. Maybe he knows the combination. I pulled out of the parking lot. The book sat on the dashboard, heavy with 20 years of silence. I tossed the heavy book onto the dashboard, the metal gears clanking against the plastic. Rourke's, I decided, engaging the engine. If anyone knows how to unlock a dead woman's secrets without destroying the evidence, it's him. And I have a feeling he's been waiting for this for 20 years. Chapter 8. The twist. My uncle's sunroom was designed for tea and light reading. It was not designed for cracking safes. The false book lay on the wicker table between us. The leather was scuffed, the gold leaf fading. The brass lock mechanism embedded in the pages gleamed under the lamp. "A cryptex," Rourke said, adjusting his glasses. "Custom work." "Thorne said he tried to pry it," I said, pointing to a scratch on the cover. "Amateurs." "He lacks finesse," Jasper said, holding a cup of chamomile tea that was shaking slightly. "Clara Finch made this?" "She was clever," Rourke murmured. "She liked puzzles. She used to organize the periodicals by color just to annoy Arthur." I leaned over the lock. 4 dials, numbers 0 to 9. 4 digits, I said. "A date?" 1995, Jasper suggested. I spun the dials. 1995. I pressed the latch. Nothing. It held firm. "Too obvious," I said. "Her birthday?" Rourke asked. "July 4th? 0-7-0-4. Click. Nothing. "Dewey," Jasper said. "The section where we found it. 398.2. I tried 3982. Nothing. I slammed the false book onto the table. "It's pointless," I snapped, rubbing my eyes. "We're guessing. It could be her social security number, her locker combination, the Dewey decimal number for help me." Rourke poured more tea, the china clinking softly in the tense silence. "Patience, Merritt. Panic is a poor key." I took a breath. The hum was low, a steady thrum of frustration. "Think like Clara," I whispered to myself. She was hiding proof that the library was corrupt. What was the most important thing to her? "Sebastian," Rourke said softly. "Sebastian Pates," I said. "Her secret love." "Do we know his birthday?" Jasper asked. "No," Rourke said. "But Clara loved the folklore collection. She once told me the only true history of the Fallows was written in the ghost stories." 398.2, I repeated. Folklore. I looked at the spine of the false book. Encyclopedia of Southern Hexes. "Volume 1, I read. "There is no Volume 2, Jasper said. "It was a limited run. Private press. 1892. 1892, I whispered. "The year the library was founded." I looked at the dials. "Try the founding date," Jasper said, "of the Athenaeum." "October 31st, 1892, Jasper recited. 4 digits, I reminded him. 1892. I spun the dials. 1892. Click. The latch popped open. Silence in the room. I opened the cover. Inside the hollowed-out cavity was a stack of papers, folded, worn, and a small, rusted iron key. "The key," Rourke whispered. "To what?" I picked up the papers. The top one wasn't a diary entry. It was a map, a blueprint. "This is the library," Jasper said, pointing. "The basement level. Here's the archive. Here's the north partition." I looked closely. Overlaid on the blueprint, in red ink, was another drawing. Older, rougher, a coastline, a tunnel. "The displacement map," I said. "The one Arthur stole from the records." "Look where the tunnel ends," Rourke said, his finger hovering over the paper. The red line of the tunnel ran from the river, under the town square, and ended directly behind the north partition. "The wall," I breathed. "The wall isn't structural support for the building." "It's a door," Jasper said. "A sealed door to the tunnel." I picked up the next paper, a diary entry. August 28th, 1995. Sebastian found the entrance. It's behind the plaster in the north cellar. He says the reserve is still there. The gold. All of it. The founders didn't spend it. They built the library on top of it to hide it. The library is a vault, I said. I read on. He's going to tell Evelyn tonight. He thinks she'll understand. He thinks she'll want to give it back to the families who lost their land. He's so naive. Evelyn doesn't care about justice. She cares about the Pates legacy. I picked up the next page. Tears stains on the ink. August 30th, 1995. He's dead. They say he drowned. But I know. I saw her shoes. Mud on the satin. Grave dirt. September 1st, 1995. She knows I know. Arthur is asking questions about the map. I can't stay. I'm going to hide this. If I disappear, look in the wall. Look where looking is forbidden. She didn't run, Rourke said, his voice shaking. She was trapped. She wasn't just trapped, I said, looking at the blueprint. Evelyn killed her. And then I traced the line of the north partition. She put her in the door, I whispered. She used Clara's body to seal the entrance to the gold. A guardian, Jasper shuddered. A sacrifice. A warning, I corrected, to anyone else who tried to open that wall. The hum spiked. Truth. It rang clear and cold in the room. The gold is still there, I said, behind the wall where we found Clara. That's why Evelyn wants the renovation stopped. If Miller knocks that wall down, he finds the Spanish reserve, Jasper said, and proves the Pates family stole it. And proves Evelyn is a murderer, I added. Rourke sat back, looking old and tired. Evelyn Pates. I've had tea with her for 40 years. She's a monster. She's a preservationist, I said grimly. She preserved the secret. I stood up. I pocketed the key. What does the key open? Jasper asked. I don't know, I said, but I bet it opens something in that tunnel. Merritt, Rourke said, be careful. Evelyn is powerful. If she knows you have this... She knows we have the book, I said. Thorne told her by now. Or she guessed. She'll come for you, Rourke warned. Let her come, I said. Tomorrow night. The gala. The gala? Jasper asked. You still want to go? We have to, I said. She's going to be there, surrounded by the town she lied to. I'm going to walk in there, wearing a dress, holding this map, and I'm going to tear her legacy down brick by brick. But first, Jasper said, standing up and straightening his tweed. We need that dress, and I need a drink. Agreed, I said. I looked at the map one last time, the red line, the wall, the body. It wasn't just a cold case anymore. It was a demolition project. I grabbed the key and stood up. Get the car, Jasper. I'm going to need a bigger sledgehammer. Chapter 9. The Bell Jar. The corset wasn't a garment. It was an interrogation technique. Breathe, Jasper said, tugging on the black satin laces until my ribs protested. I can't, I gasped, clutching the doorframe of the costume shop fitting room. My lungs are currently located in my throat. It's authentic, Jasper said, tying a knot that felt dangerously permanent. 1890s mourning attire, the widow of the Fallows. It's the only thing we found that fit your height. I turned to the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't me. She was a specter. The dress was black silk, heavy and stiff, with a high lace collar that scratched my neck and sleeves that puffed out like storm clouds. The skirt was a cascade of ruffles that rustled with every breath I didn't take. The boots stay, I said, lifting the hem to reveal my scuffed work boots. If I have to run, I am not doing it in satin slippers." "Agreed," Jasper said, adjusting his own top hat. He looked like a nervous undertaker in his frock coat. "But the veil is non-negotiable. It adds mystery." I placed the hat on my head, tucking my red hair away. The black veil dropped over my face, filtering the world into a shadowy grid. "I look like I'm going to haunt a lighthouse," I muttered. "You look formidable," Jasper said. "Are you ready?" I patted the hidden pocket in my petticoat where the map and key were stashed. "Let's go crash a party." The Fallows Athenaeum had transformed. The main hall smelled aggressively of perfume, catering sternos, and old money. Gold ribbons draped the marble columns. Crystal chandeliers sparkled. A string quartet was murdering Mozart in the corner. The town's elite were there, the mayor sweating in velvet, the city council looking like historical reenactors, and the wealthy donors sipping champagne. We walked in. The room went quiet. It wasn't just that we were in costume. Everyone was. It was our costumes. While everyone else was dressed as jaunty pioneer or Southern belle, we looked like a funeral procession. "Heads up," Jasper whispered. "The Spider Queen. 12 o'clock. Evelyn Pates stood near the podium. She was magnificent. She wore a gown of deep crimson velvet, the color of dried blood. Pearls choked her neck, and a diamond tiara glinted in her silver hair. She was laughing at something the chief of police said. She saw us. Her smile froze. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. "She knows," I whispered. "She's a professional," Jasper murmured. "She won't make a scene. Not here." We walked toward her, the crowd parting. "Director Abernathy," Evelyn purred as we reached her. Her voice was smooth, like bourbon. "And, Miss Vance, I see you found the costume closet. How spirited." "We wanted to be authentic, Evelyn," I said, my voice low behind the veil. "Victorian founders. We thought we should dress for the era of secrets." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Secrets are so gauche, darling. We prefer history." "We know about Sebastian," I said. The chief of police choked on his canapé. Evelyn didn't blink. "My poor nephew. A tragedy. Drowned so young." "He didn't drown," I said, raising my voice. Heads turned. "He was murdered because he wanted to return the reserve." "The reserve?" The mayor perked up. "What reserve?" "The Spanish gold," Jasper said, his voice trembling but clear. "The foundation of the Pates fortune, and the foundation of this library." Evelyn laughed. It was a tinkling, cold sound. "Propaganda," she waved a hand. "A myth, Jasper, created by jealous minds." "We found the map," I said. The laughter stopped. "The displacement map," I continued, "with Sebastian's notes and Clara's diary." Evelyn's face remained a mask, but her eyes went dead. "Clara Finch, the runaway." "She didn't run," I said. "She's in the basement, behind the north partition. You put her there, Evelyn. You used her to seal the door." The crowd was murmuring now. "In the basement? A body? Did she say gold?" Pasco stepped forward, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. "Merritt, Jasper, maybe we should take this outside." "No," Evelyn said sharply. "Let them speak. It's amusing." She stepped closer to me. The scent of her perfume, white diamonds, and decay was overpowering. "You have a map?" she whispered. "And a key," I whispered back. Evelyn smiled. It was a smile full of teeth. "Well then," she said loudly, turning to the crowd, It seems we have a surprise presentation. The director believes he has found a treasure map. Polite, confused applause. Why don't we see if it's real? Evelyn suggested. Why don't we go down to the new wing and investigate? A private tour for the VIPs. No, Jasper said. We stay here. Nonsense, Evelyn said, gripping my arm. Her fingers were steel. You want to expose the truth, Merritt? Let's go to the source. The mayor can come, and the chief. Let's settle this. She leaned in closer. Unless you're afraid your map is just a forgery? It was a trap. I knew it. She wanted us in the basement, away from the witnesses. But the basement was where the door was, where the wall was. Fine, I said. Let's go. Excellent. Evelyn clapped her hands. To the basement. Everyone, please enjoy the band. She led us away. Not toward the main stairs, but toward the service elevator. The chief followed. The mayor followed, looking confused but excited about treasure. We stepped into the elevator. The doors closed. You look lovely in black, Merritt, Evelyn said as the car descended. It suits you. Mourning becomes you. It's not for me, I said. It's for Clara. Evelyn smiled. We'll see. The elevator dinged. The sound echoed like a shot in the small metal box. The door slid open to reveal the darkness of the basement, carrying the scent of wet earth and impending violence. Evelyn stepped out first, and I tightened my grip on the map hidden in my skirt. We were on her turf now. Chapter 10. The Foundation. The basement air was different tonight. Upstairs, the library smelled of lilies and champagne. Down here, it smelled of wet earth and limestone dust. The service elevator doors slid open. The construction lights were on. Harsh, yellow halogens that Miller had strung up weeks ago. They cast jagged shadows against the plastic containment sheets. The north partition, Evelyn announced, sweeping her velvet-draped arm toward the far wall. The wall of secrets. The wall stood silent. Rough brick, cracked plaster. The small hole where I had found the false book was still there, gaping like a dark mouth. Open it, Evelyn commanded. What? Jasper asked, adjusting his top hat. You claim there is a tunnel, Evelyn said. You claim there is gold. Show me. She signaled to the chief. Pasco, give her a sledgehammer. Pasco looked at Evelyn, then at me. He shifted uncomfortably in his tuxedo. Ma'am, this is a crime scene. Technically. It's my building, Chief, Evelyn snapped. And I want this rumor squashed before the dessert course. Give her the hammer. Pasco sighed. He walked over to Miller's tool bench and picked up the heavy sledge. He handed it to me. Careful, Vance, he muttered. Don't bring the house down. I took the hammer. The wooden handle was smooth, worn by Miller's hands. It felt heavy, grounding. I looked at the wall. If I broke it down, I found the tunnel. I proved the map was real. But I also destroyed the seal. Go on, Evelyn goaded, her voice echoing in the concrete space. Break it. Let's see what's inside. Or are you afraid you're wrong? Why did she want me to open it? She had killed 2 people to keep it closed. No, I said. I lowered the hammerhead to the concrete floor with a heavy clank. No? Evelyn raised a sculpted eyebrow. You want me to open it? I said. Why? Because, Evelyn smiled, taking a step back toward the elevator. I can't open it myself. The masonry is too thick, and the contractors pour the structural concrete tomorrow morning. My attempts to delay them were becoming suspicious. If I don't handle this tonight, The Pates legacy is buried under 5 feet of cement forever, and I have a plane to catch." She reached into her velvet clutch. She pulled out a gun, a small silver pistol with a pearl handle, identical to the one we had found in Orion's shop. "Evelyn!" the mayor squeaked, backing into a stack of drywall. "What are you doing?" "Quiet, Harold," Evelyn snapped without looking at him. She aimed the gun at Jasper's chest. "Open the wall, Merritt," she said calmly, "or I start resigning the board of directors, starting with the interim director." "He's not armed, Evelyn," I said, stepping in front of Jasper. "He's a liability," Evelyn said. "Swing the hammer, Merritt. Now." I looked at Jasper. He was pale, sweat beading on his forehead under the brim of his hat, but he nodded. "Do it," he whispered. "We have to know." I lifted the sledgehammer. I looked at the wall, at the bricks that held Clara Finch. "I'm sorry, Clara," I whispered. I swung. Crack. The impact shuddered up my arms. The brick shattered. Dust puffed out. White lime, red clay. "Again!" Evelyn yelled. Crack. A larger hole opened. A dark void appeared behind the brick. Crack. The wall gave way. Bricks tumbled inward. A wind, a cold, stale wind, rushed out of the darkness. It didn't smell like a basement. It smelled of the river, of rot, and of something metallic. "The tunnel," the mayor gasped, peeking out from behind the drywall. Evelyn smiled. "Finally." She moved toward the hole. "Pasco, cuff them, all of them. I have a boat to catch." "You're not leaving," a voice rumbled. We all turned. Standing in the shadows of the loading dock, blocking the rear exit, was a figure. Huge, silent, holding a shovel. Spade. "No one leaves," Spade said, his voice deep as a grave, "until the digging is done." Evelyn laughed. "A gardener? You think a gardener can stop me?" "He's not a gardener," I said, gripping the hammer. "He's the cemetery keeper." I stepped between Evelyn and the tunnel entrance. "And you're on his turf now." Evelyn raised the gun. She aimed it directly at my chest. "Move," she hissed. "I have killed for this legacy, Merritt. Do not think I won't kill a stonemason to keep it." "No," I said. She pulled the trigger. Click. No bang. No flash. Just a dry, metallic click. Evelyn stared at the gun. She pulled the trigger again. Click. Click. "Thorne planted the gun," I said, stepping forward. "But we found it, and I cleaned it." I pulled a small metal pin from the pocket of my corset. I held it up. "I removed the firing pin," I said. "Masons fix things. Sometimes we break them." Evelyn's face crumpled. The mask of the socialite fell away, leaving something old, terrified, and ugly. "You," she snarled. She threw the gun at me. I dodged it. It clattered against the broken wall. "It's over, Evelyn," Jasper said, stepping up beside me. Pasco moved. Fast. He grabbed Evelyn's wrists, spinning her around. "Evelyn Pates, you are under arrest." "Get your hands off me," she shrieked, thrashing. "I am a founder. I am a Pates." "You're a murderer," Pasco said, snapping the cuffs on. The mayor slid down the wall, fanning himself with his hand. "Oh my God. Oh my God." I looked at the hole in the wall, at the darkness beyond. "The gold," the mayor whispered. "Is it real?" I exchanged a look with Jasper. "Let's find out," I said. I picked up a flashlight from the tool bench. I walked to the shattered wall. "Let's find out if it's real," I said, and stepped through the jagged breach in the brick, leaving the ruins of the Pates legacy behind us. Chapter 11. The Reserve. The tunnel wasn't a vault. It was a wound in the earth. I swept the flashlight beam across the space. The air was thick, suffocatingly still, and cold enough to frost my breath inside the veil. "It's bricked," Jasper whispered behind me. "Look." The tunnel was lined with red Tampa brick, arched and dangerously bowed. It ran deep under the library, heading toward the river. But we didn't have to walk far to find what Evelyn had died to protect. 10 feet in, the tunnel widened into a chamber, and it was full. "Jesus," Pasco said, stepping in behind us. The floor was piled high with crates, rotting wood, iron bands rusted to flaking orange scabs. Some had burst open, spilling their contents. Gold, coins, bars, ornaments. They glittered in the frantic yellow beams of our flashlights. Spanish doubloons, reals, gold that looked wet, slick with the humidity of the river. "It's real," the mayor squeaked from the tunnel entrance. "The reserve. It's actually real." "Look closer," I said. I aimed my light lower, at the base of the crates, at the floor. The crates didn't sit on dirt. They sat on bones, hundreds of them, rib cages, femurs, skulls. They were stacked like cordwood, a gruesome foundation for the gold. "The displaced," Jasper said, his voice breaking. "The families who wouldn't leave. The Pates family didn't just move them. They buried them with the treasure," I said. "They built the library on a mass grave." The hum in my jaw was screaming now. It wasn't just violence. It was agony. A century of silence, finally broken. "This isn't a bank," I said. "It's a crypt." I walked deeper into the chamber. The gold meant nothing. I looked at the spot near the entrance, where the wall had been, where Clara had been found. "She knew," I whispered. "She found this 20 years ago. And Evelyn killed her for it," Jasper said softly. "Used her to seal it back up." Pasco stepped up beside me. He took off his hat. "I'll call the state archaeologists," Pasco said. "We'll get them out. All of them." "Don't touch the gold," I warned him. "It's evidence. Blood money." "I don't want the damn gold," Pasco shuddered. "It's cursed. Look at it." He was right. The gold didn't look inviting. In the light of the crypt, it looked like disease. I stood up. My morning dress felt heavy, suffocating. "We need to go," I said. "The air down here is bad." "We can't just leave them," Jasper said. "We aren't leaving them," I said. "We're letting them breathe, for the first time in 100 years. We walked back toward the shattered wall. As I stepped through the breach, I looked back one last time. The flashlight beam caught the glint of gold on bone, and for a second, just a second, I thought I saw someone standing in the shadows. A woman, tall, wearing a top hat, holding a glass of rum. She wasn't looking at the gold. She was looking at me. She raised the glass. A toast. Job done. I blinked. She was gone. "Merritt?" Jasper asked from the basement. "Coming," I said. I stepped out of the tunnel. Spade was waiting. He looked at the hole. He took a deep breath of the foul air. "Smells like closure," Spade rumbled. "Yeah," I said, untying the veil and letting it drop to the floor. "It does." "And profit," the mayor muttered, staring greedily at the gold coins spilling into the dust. "Don't even think about it, Harold," I said, "or I'll brick you in there with them." The mayor paled and backed away. I looked at Jasper. He looked exhausted, his top hat askew, his face smudged with brick dust. "You okay?" I asked. "I think I need to rewrite the library's history section," he said. "Extensively." "We can help," I said. "But first," Jasper added, "can we please get out of these clothes? I feel like I'm wearing a sofa." I laughed, a rusty sound, but real. "Yeah," I said, looking back at the library one last time before turning toward the truck. "Let's go home. I think I finally earned that drink." Chapter 12. The Notation. The library was closed, but for the first time, it wasn't quiet. Outside, the press vans were still parked on the street, satellite dishes aimed at the Victorian facade like weapons. "Blood gold of the Fallows," the headlines screamed. "The Pate's legacy crumbles." Inside, it was peaceful. I sat on the front steps, watching Spade plant a new bed of flowers. Marigolds, bright orange. "For the dead," Spade grunted, patting the dirt. "They'll like them," I said. Jasper walked out, carrying 2 cups of coffee. No tweed today, just a button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up. "Here," he said, handing me a cup. "Fog cutter blend, extra grit." "Thanks." "Pasco just called," Jasper said, sitting beside me. "They finished the extraction. Clara is—" He paused. "She's going home, to her family in Tampa." "Good." "And the bones," Jasper added. "The Historical Society, the new board, voted to build a crypt, a proper one, in the boneyard. Spade is already digging the foundation." "Spade digs fast," I noted. "Evelyn is pleading insanity," Jasper said, blowing on his coffee. "She claims the mercury in the felt hats drove her mad, the Mad Hatter defense." "It won't work," I said. "She was too careful." "Orion is horrified," Jasper chuckled darkly. "He's donating the entire gold reserve to the families of the displaced, and he's changing his last name. He's thinking Vance." I choked on my coffee. "Tell him no." "I told him," Jasper smiled. "He settled on Finch, in honor of Clara." "Orion Finch," I tested it. "Sounds like a bird. It fits him." We sat in silence for a moment, watching the wind rustle the new marigolds. "So," Jasper said, "the renovation is on hold, indefinitely, until the archaeological survey is done." "Which means you're out of a job?" I asked. "No, the board wants me to stay, to oversee the transition from Temple of Lies to Museum of Accuracy." "Congratulations, Director." I bumped his shoulder. "And," Jasper said, reaching into his pocket, "I have a new consultant contract for you." I resigned, Jasper. Remember? "This isn't for masonry," Jasper said. "It's for special collections." "Special collections?" "The weird stuff," Jasper clarified. "The stuff in the locked cabinets, the hexes, the cursed objects, the things that hum." I looked at him. "You want to hire me as a specialist?" "You have a talent, Merritt. You hear things the rest of us ignore. And this town, well, the gold was just the foundation. There are other things buried here." "Like what?" "Like the thing Rourke found in the attic this morning," Jasper said. "A box, labeled Do Not Open 1920. "Oh no," I groaned. "I am not opening another box." "The pay is double," Jasper said, "and unlimited coffee." I sighed. I looked at the library. The scars on the brick were still visible, but they felt different now. Less like wounds, more like history. Fine, I said, but no more corsets. Deal. Jasper stood up. He offered me a hand. Ready to go see what's in the box? I took his hand. His grip was warm. No, I said, but let's do it anyway. We walked back up the stairs, past the stone lions that guarded the entrance. I paused at the door. I looked at my reflection in the glass. My red hair was messy. My jaw was set. My eyes were tired. You know, I said, pointing at the glass, I really do have a resting witch face. Jasper laughed. It's charming, in a terrifying sort of way. Keep talking, director, I said, opening the door. Noted, Jasper said. We walked into the cool darkness of the library. The hum buzzed. Low, excited. The dead might finally be resting, but looking at the boxes stacked in the hallway, I had a feeling the living were about to be very busy.
Thank you for listening. Please visit me at winvalentine.com to stay up to date. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and review.